Well, let's look at a couple pictures. So I'll try my best to give you what I know. Okay. So we know a couple things about the sermon. This is what's called the Mount of Beatitudes. Okay. I know a couple of you have been to Israel, but this is called the Mount of Beatitudes. I will tell you that it is not 100% confirmed. So they tried really, really hard as they were searching and so forth. They know that it's right in this area, but they don't know that this spot where they have now, kind of like if you've been there, the Mount Beatitudes, they don't know that it's 100%. So a couple things you got to notice. One is you see the Sea of Galilee behind. Obviously, the more that you look, you're up on kind of a mountainside here. You're going down towards the sea. Same look here. You're just looking over, obviously, at the Sea of Galilee, and you're looking down over kind of the mountainside. I'll tell you, who's the ones that have been to Mountain Beatitudes? So, Mark, anybody else? I'm telling you what, you could go there, and you could literally just sit for the whole afternoon. It's up. The view's incredible, and it's super peaceful, okay? So here's some of the reason why they believe that this is the spot is because you can't see it, and there's no way I could have taken a picture to show you. But on the other side of this hill here, there's a natural, almost like basically like amphitheater, just a little bit of way that the hill's shaped a little bit. And so if you think in terms of the acoustics, okay, there's a lot of people here, okay? There's a lot of people that have gathered around Jesus. For him to be able to speak, there's going to have to be he's going to need some help. There's no microphones, there's no projectors, there's nothing like that. So that's some of the things they used. They know that it's in this area, but that's some of the things they used to try to locate. Is this the spot where he preached the Sermon on the Mount? Because he would have been standing somewhere up, people would have been a little bit lower, but they would have also needed something that would have helped keep the sound close to him, okay? So on the top of the Mount Beatitudes, there's a Roman Catholic church, and they've kind of put them everywhere, if I'm honest, but it's beautiful, and it literally, you can see it for miles and miles and miles. It's the dome. This dome here it sticks up. You're driving through the kind of around by the Sea of Galilee, and you're looking up. You see this thing. I mean, you know you're coming up to it, and it's a little bit of a windy road to kind of get up to it where it's at. Inside is beautiful. I mean, you've obviously got the inside of the dome up here. You got lots of stained glass. You know, you've got all kinds of just, things as far as that are just, I got to tell you, I didn't take a lot of pictures inside because they had a nun there as I was going in. They asked me to remove my hat. I happened to have a hat on that day because we were out at the Sea of Galilee before this, so we were out in the sun. So I had a hat on that day. And we were just asked to be quiet. And so just out of reverence, I didn't walk in and just take snapping pictures. I did take this one when I walked in just because it's obviously just a picture of Jesus preaching the Sermon on the Mount. So, again, up there as far as just the dome, and I think that's it. Excuse me. So when you're up here, like I said, it's very, very peaceful. It's very peaceful. And it's up. It's up on the hill. Like you just when you walk around the grounds, you just see the Sea of Galilee everywhere. Now I want to help you here. This is actually two pictures. There's the line, and I don't know. I did that to you to mess with your eyes, but so this would be just one of the buildings that's up there, and then obviously these are some of the grounds. There's a couple things that are up there on the kind of the property. So when you start walking around, you start noticing the Beatitudes, and there are all kinds of plaques. Obviously, this is in English, but you can walk around. I could have just kept walking and taking plaques of different ones. I didn't do that, okay? So one is I didn't have a lot of time. Like we had a small window of time when we were up there, and so but I took this one because I saw the Philippines. I've been to the Philippines. I spent 15 days in the Philippines once, and so I saw that and was like, oh, look at that. And so I took that. Here's one that's Korean that I saw, and I just happened to be while I was walking out. Sri Lanka here, the Beatitudes, obviously missing a few tiles. When you start walking around, the grounds really are what's, just incredible. There's walkways and paths and all on the side of this mountain or down this hill, and it's really just beautiful. It's just tough to see, but this is actually rocks they've made into, and that's a fish right there, where the laser is a fish. They've taken rocks and made a fish. I took a picture of this gate just because this was, obviously there's walls around the whole thing, and then this would be on the west side, I believe, and this was a gate, and it's overlooking vineyards that are going down the hill, so there are a bunch of vineyards there, and so I was just out walking. There's a picture of the fish a little bit better I was telling you about. So this is a fountain. I'm telling you, like you could literally just sit there and just, like, we sat there and we read, Matthew 5, and, the water's flowing. You have a great view. It's just really, really peaceful to be up there. That's the church. Yep, that's the church right there. That's the church. That's the walkway around it, and then that's the big dome right there. Yeah. So, of course, when you're walking around, you're going to see things like these placards. Now, I'll tell you, when I did this presentation for my students, because, these spots, I also went through the students, and we did kind of the same thing. We read a little bit about it, talked about it, and this was a lesson to them. I'm like, guys, let's not vandalize things. I mean, like, this was kind of disheartening. Is a lot of these blocks, not all, but a lot of them, like, they've really, somebody's messed them up a little bit. But you start walking through and you see the blocks, and there's a path, and you start that path. You've been on that path, right? Really? So it's a main path in, and they have these blocks, and each of these blocks, it's really incredible just to walk in. So, like, obviously this one, somebody's taken the S. They've taken the H, so, which is sad. I'm like, guys, what? Let's not vandalize. So, obviously, if you don't know, there's 8 of these. This last one is really messed up. So, this one's messed up as well. So, here's a couple more pictures of just the hillside. We say mountain, but it's really, like, if you've been to Colorado, you look at this and you say, this isn't really a mountain. If you've lived in Florida your whole life, you look at this and you say, oh, it's a mountain. I was born in the mountains of Allegheny County in western Maryland, and so mountains that were 2,000 to 3,000 feet above sea level, and so these are more hills for me, but they call them mountains. But yeah, you're here and you're walking around and you're able to see down, and so when you take that into consideration, you're like, well, this does make sense, that the possibility that this is where he preached the sermon. Now, how they determine, right? They determine based on some of the other landmarks and some of the other things that are right here. So, first thing is, is when you go this direction. So when you go down and you go this direction, you're going to come to Capernaum. Okay, so Capernaum is obviously a very, very key spot in the life of Jesus. We know that roughly he was there about 3 years and spent 3 years there at Capernaum. Capernaum is right on the water. Okay, so Capernaum is there, and so we know that's at close proximity. So if he was to leave Capernaum and come up, this would have been a natural spot where he would have come up the hill and could have been an easy spot where he could have had a crowd and he could have preached for a bit. Okay. Another just view, and I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Any questions on anything that you saw before we go to the next spot? Any Mount Beatitudes questions? Definitely not an expert. Definitely not going to be hired as a tour guide anytime soon. But it was a peaceful spot. You do have to keep in mind there's no way to say that was the spot. So some of my students, we dialogued about this for a while. We're like, okay, think about this. Like Capernaum, there's things that they could determine like Jesus was here, or this is where Capernaum was. It made sense. It was a village. There was things when they dug through and were able to see like, oh yeah, this makes sense, right? This is Peter's house. This makes sense, right? And so I said to the students when we were going over this a few weeks ago, I said, like, think about this. Jesus preached a sermon there. What are we going to find? His sermon notes? They don't have sermon notes then. Like, there's nothing that they could use necessarily, like physical object, to be able to go all the way back and say, oh, that's really the spot. The next spot we're going to go to in just a second, there's definitely things, and you'll see that they can say, oh yeah, we can use that to date back to the time period of when Jesus was there. Okay. I don't know, if I'm honest. What years were you guys? 04, and it was there as well. So I mean, it's probably been there for a while. I'm guessing, but I don't know. So, I'll tell you that was definitely something I was not ready for, as far as you would go to different spots and you would literally, there was just seemed like, a Catholic church at every one of these spots, So I was not prepared for that. And then if you, next Wednesday night, we're going to spend like all of our time in Jerusalem. So I'm going to show you a ton of pictures of just things in Jerusalem that I was able to see and talk through that with you. But when you go to Jerusalem and you go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, if I've even said that right, I mean, then you don't just have one church. They've literally got like all these different churches that all in the same building and offshoots and stuff. It's like it'd almost be like a food court at a mall where you have all these different options. And so the church has all these different types of churches all connected. It's very hard to explain. So we're not going to spend much time there, but it's definitely something I was not expecting. Okay, so yeah. Okay, 1938. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. The remains are there. Nope, they do have a building when you walk in Capernaum. They do have a building there, and then the only other building that's there that's functioning that is a Catholic church is St. Peter's Catholic Church. Basically, they've taken, and we looked at this 2 weeks ago. They've taken and built a free floating church over top of where Peter's house was. And then if you can get to, I can show you, Steve, I can show you later the pictures, but you can get to the center of this, of the church, and they have it glass where you can look down into where they believe that Peter's house was. So, but Capernaum is really just ruins at this point. The only other thing that's left that gives you any type of resemblance is the synagogue. There's a synagogue that's left standing, but it's only pieces. The roof's gone. There's just walls that are up and stuff like that. So, okay. Let's jump. I need somebody else to read for me only a few verses. Matthew 15. And I got a Bible here. If somebody doesn't have a Bible and you want to read, I can give you this Bible. Matthew 15, verse 21. You want to read? Okay. Okay, so Matthew 21, right? Right there. Yeah, I'll let you use the microphone. I'll hold it.
The faith of a Gentile woman. 21. Jesus then left Galilee and went north to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Gentile woman who lived there came to him, pleading, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David, for my daughter has a demon in her, and it is severely tormenting her." Continue. But Jesus gave her no reply, not even a word. Then his disciples urged him to send her away. Tell her to leave, they said. She is bothering us with all her begging. Then he said to the woman, I was sent only to help the people of Israel, God's lost sheep, not the Gentiles. Okay. But she came and worshipped him and pleaded again, Lord, help me. It isn't right to take food from the children and throw it to the dogs, he said. Yes, Lord, she replied, but even dogs are permitted to eat crumbs that fall beneath their master's table. Woman, Jesus said to her, your faith is great. Your request is granted, and her daughter was instantly healed.
So just after this passage here, then Jesus he takes off. He's there at the Sea of Galilee, okay? So what is believed is that he comes to a place which is called Magdala, okay? So let's do some just helping us out as far as map-wise, okay? So you ready for this? So this is obviously the Sea of Galilee. Capernaum we were just speaking of, even though you didn't see those pictures. That was, like I said, 2 weeks ago. Mount of Beatitudes be up this way here. You have Tiberias down here. The Jordan River flows in from the north. Jordan River flows out in the south. Okay, so Magdala right about here. Okay, right there. Everybody see it? So Magdala, a couple things. Magdala is right on the Sea of Galilee. Okay, so if you read a little bit further after this is right before he feeds the 4,000, and he starts to retreat back towards the Sea of Galilee. It's believed that he goes to Magdala. There's a lot of things that happen in Magdala. I'm going to skip that picture. I'll use it. So this is in 2006. So if you haven't been there, like if you've been there pre-2006, you wouldn't even know this. So in 2006, they discover this piece of property, and then as they start what happened is they found that they had this piece of property. They started to build a really nice hotel on it. So the developer comes in. It's prime real estate because it's right on the Sea of Galilee. It's a beautiful spot. And so they started to develop this hotel that you'll see in just a second. And as they're developing the hotel, the developers developing the hotel, they hit something. And so after they hit something, they're like, oh man, what is this? So at this point, I mean, you're talking like we're talking 20 years, right? Oh, actually, I mean, no, yeah, about 20 years. Not quite. That Magdala is just recently discovered, and they're still discovering it. So when you're there, they're still got the tents up. They're still doing the digs through it, and they dig at a very, the best way to tell you is they dig at a snail's pace. So they told us all about as far as when they find a spot that they want to discover a little bit, they'll dig for a few months, and then they stop. Why do you think that is? I didn't know. Yeah, let things settle. Then they'll come back a few months later, dig some more, and then they stop. So the process is very, very slow. The other thing is it's like Florida. Like you think about it, if like all of a sudden we found something out here in your 18 acres here in the field, right? Like you go out there in the middle of the field and you start digging, it's going to be pretty hot, right? Come July. So they have to obviously keep that in consideration as well. So you'll see a lot of they'll take tarps and stuff and make different just not shelters, but just 2x4s they would put up and build stuff so they can keep them from being in the sun. Exactly. Yeah, and so everything that they take from the site, they put in containers, and then they take it to a facility and they literally go through it, literally. So on these dig sites, they don't use like machinery. They use picks and shovels and stuff like that, which is insane. We won't have time next week. One of the spots that I got to go to in Jerusalem is the newly discovered Pilgrim's Road, and this thing blew my mind. Maybe we'll slide it in next week and go fast. But they are literally discovering the road that Jesus would have walked from the Pool of Siloam all the way up through to the Temple Mount. I mean, they've just now recently discovered this thing. It's remarkable, and it's built like stuff's built all over top of it, and so that it's underground. And so literally they're using picks and shovels to literally take this stuff out, put it in buckets. They take it and sift all. Okay, we can keep talking. Anyhow, so 2009, they just start discovering this. They're again, the developer is building this hotel. I will tell you this: the hotel that's there at Magdala, that's right on the Sea of Galilee. I mean, I'm walking through this thing, and I said to the guys from the trip, I was like, hey, how come we're not staying here? And they're like, we can't afford to stay here. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful place. Okay, so here's a couple things. One is, see this over here that's glass? That's kind of a corridor in the hotel. So there's actually bathrooms right here. And so if you come down the hotel lobby, you're actually walking down this corridor. They put glass in so that you can see in, and there's some bathrooms there. This is actually one of the synagogues that they discovered here, and so this is a very important discovery and so forth. So they've put this kind of obviously roof on top of it, so you can stand. You cannot walk in all these areas here. You can they have this stone wall that's kind of around it, so you can kind of stand and look in and stuff like that. And there's all kinds of great things they've discovered as they've been uncovering it. Here's some more as far as the ruins. You can obviously see the ground level right up here. So they've dug down. See the ground level there? They've dug down to get all this. As far as to start discovering this, like I said, they're still actively digging here as well. That's back where the synagogue was that I just showed you a second ago. And this is some of the sites. Up here, of course, they've put in like a coffee shop and a gift shop and all that stuff, except it was closed. I want to go back real quick and, oops, wrong way. I want to go back and see if I can see it. So see this right here where the pointer is. So that's a really, really important piece, the Magdala stone. Okay, so the Magdala stone, it's probably half the size of this communion table, as far as it's not as tall. And then you see like there's a stone there, there's a stone there. It's like got 4 stones that like hold it up. It's called the Magdala stone. It's a huge, huge, huge discovery. A couple of the youth pastors that I was with on the trip, they're like, hey, a few of us, if we pick this thing up, we could probably carry this thing off. And I'm like, what? But the thing about the Magdala stone, and I don't know if I have the other picture, but the thing about the Magdala stone is what it was used for is and we know that Jesus came here in this synagogue and he taught. And the stone would have been where he would have literally taken the scrolls and laid the scrolls over the stone, and he would have taught from the stone. That's what they would have done. You see all these little steps here. Those are actually where people would have sat, because a rabbi is a teacher. Jesus was a rabbi. He was a teacher. So he would have come. They would have sat. He would have taken the scroll, put it over the stone, and he would have read those scrolls, and he would have taught them. And so the fact they found this Magdala stone is a huge discovery. They're able to trace it, the carvings in it, and all that way, way back. So, again, I just showed you these. Some more of the ruins there. Again, just make sure you see. There's the line where the dirt that's been obviously uncovered. This is actually was pretty cool. They let you actually walk through here, okay? So this one is where they've opened it up. Now you see right there, there's plastic up. There's kind of some wood and stuff. They're still obviously working in that area, or digging, I guess you could say, in that area. So this you get to walk through. They told us, they said that it's weird that all this water was here, the water that's all sitting here. And when you walk through, you can see spots like this where you've got the steps, step, all the way down. So what are some things that this could have been used for as far as the steps? What would you think about, like if the synagogue, let's see, if the synagogue is here, wait, no, the synagogue is here, okay? And the steps, those steps I just showed you are right in this area here, right? What do you think the steps would have been used for, or could have been used for? So back then, if you're going into the temple, what would you first have to do? You have to cleanse yourself. So you'd have to cleanse yourself. So I don't know that that's it. Who knows? But it was interesting to see the steps and so forth as you're walking down through here. You've got these little, like, cave things. They told us, they said this was not necessarily where there's like not a cave, but like a opening where there's something in here. A lot of these here were actually water. So you see some of that water is because naturally they had built it in a way that the water would flow out of the Sea of Galilee and flow up and give them water in their village of Magdala. Here's an old olive tree, obviously, that was there. These things are so fascinating. They're just the weirdest trees that you'll ever see, but so many of them are so old. Okay, so a couple things I want to show you. One is this is. If you can see there's the Sea of Galilee. This is like a little fountain courtyard thing that walks back up towards the lobby of the hotel. I'm telling you, if you ever get a chance to stay there, it'll be worth it. It's a beautiful hotel. I think it's just Magdala. I just think they've kept the name. So here is a lot of because you got the Sea of Galilee down here. So here's a lot of the dig that they still have not really dug and finished as far as all this area down here. So what I showed you was up a little bit. This stuff is still being discovered, okay? So, of course, what do you think they put there? They put a Roman Catholic church, yeah. But it's beautiful. I'm telling you what, wait till you see it. So they have all of these mosaics, and these things are, you're talking, they're little tiles. They are thousands and hundreds of thousands of little tiles that they've taken to make these murals. Obviously, this is the Sea of Galilee. This one here, I'm having a hard time making it out, just being able to see it on my, I don't know. It's Jesus and the woman. Oh, Jesus, the woman, the well. Sorry. So then you have this one here. This one is Jesus walking along the Sea of Galilee, calling some of his disciples. This one here is Jairus, as far as when Jesus healed Jairus' daughter, when they said she was dead, but he was like, oh, no, she's just taking a nap. So they have all these mosaics in there, and they are beautiful. They're so beautiful. Oh, I could just, in this shot here, you can see a reflection here is because I couldn't get in the room. I had to take it through a glass. And you can see, obviously, some of the reflection there. They just sit there and watch. Now, so they also have these, which was very fascinating to me. This actually says up here, says Philip. Yeah, it's Philip. So basically they have these 12 columns around the church, and the 12 columns is the 12 disciples. And they're so nice, and they're large, and this one says Philip. So my goal was to walk around and get all 12, and they would not let me. They were hurrying me out, and I don't know if it's because I was taking pictures, but there was nobody there. And actually, the priest was with us, Father something, and I don't think he really cared. But anyhow, these were really, really nice. Okay, so this is actually the lobby, okay? So you walk into this church. On both sides are those mosaics that I showed you. You've got this little fountain here to cleanse your hands before you walk in, because obviously you're not going to cleanse your whole body. And then this is obviously chairs. There's a boat, and guess what you can see there? That's the Sea of Galilee. So they've literally put glass there at the very end so that when you're sitting there for Mass, you're seeing the Sea of Galilee. And it doesn't stop there. They've spared no expense. This outside this glass is an infinity pool. So there's actually water there. You know what, an infinity pool where it just goes and flows off the edge. They put an infinity pool there so that you really get this. You don't see all this other land. You only see water when you're sitting. The stage is actually marble, and it's blue and green and white. So the boat is actually where the podium is. There's the microphone. There's a better shot. So the priest will be up here and talking in the boat, and there's the marble floor. It's gonna be tough with these, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Okay. So anyhow, again, this is just the synagogue. Okay, so funny story is this. Remember I told you the Magdala stone and the importance of that. When they discovered that, it helped them to find out all kinds of history about this place, of which anybody want to take a guess of a famous, I should not say famous, that's the wrong thing, of a female that was very close with Jesus that was from Magdala. Yeah, you got it. A+. So there's so much they discovered when they started discovering this, right? And again, remember I told you, a couple of the guys are like, hey, I think 3 or 4 of us could pick up that stone and we could carry that thing out of here, right? Which is stealing, which we don't do, right? Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. That stone that's there, who knows how much it weighs, but that stone, it's a fake. It's a fake, because there's the real one. There's the real one. So they've taken it out and they put it in the museum in Jerusalem. But I mean, you think about it. This case. You can see my friend Dylan back here, his arm right there. I mean, you can stand all around this, and you think about this, standing around this stone, knowing that Jesus literally took scrolls and just laid them and would just teach people. I mean, oh man, just such a moving experience. Just to be like, I can be that close to where he taught people from, right? So anyhow, there we go. So this is a newer spot that was been discovered. So it's a little bit different than some of the other ones that they've discovered years ago. Now, why Magdala? Why is there such an importance as far as Magdala? Is because they know, when you read, you know that Jesus went to the synagogue and he taught. And they know, based on, again, stuff they've discovered with Mary Magdalene, putting all these connections together, this definitely was a synagogue that Jesus would have taught from. Okay, so we got one more spot tonight that we're going to stop at. This is going to be the quickest stop for us tonight. Think about this. We see that Jesus went to get baptized, right? Right? And what do we do today? We're still following that example, what he modeled for us this very day. I mean, Pastor Stan's talked about the 40-plus people that have been baptized. I know there's a baptism that's coming up very soon, right? It's that moment where you are letting everyone see what's happened privately, right? And you're basically letting the inward work out so that everybody can see what has happened on the inside. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, we're going to talk about Jordan for the next few minutes before we end. So a couple things that I do want to say. If you were to ask me, what are some spots that I really enjoyed while I was in Israel, bottom of the list for me would be the Jordan, okay? And some of you are like, oh, and we're going to talk about this? Yes, we're going to talk. It's huge. I mean, we just read this. This is very, very important, right? This is a big thing for our church, right? Baptism. I mean, we still practice it today, right? But for me, I'm just telling you a little bit, but when I went there to the Jordan, right, it was, let me back up. before I went to Israel, one of the things that a friend told me was, they're like, one of the things that put me off a little bit was we've commercialized Jesus, and we're making money on Jesus. So you're going to see a lot of like shirts and all kinds of things, trinkets and all kinds of souvenirs, right? So I had that in my mind. And I think I think the Jordan for me was the place that I struggled the most. I think when I looked in the gift shop and I saw the shirt that said, I got baptized in the Jordan, I was like, okay, I'm done. You know, like I remember my baptism. And I remember the day that I was baptized. It was when I was in elementary school, and I remember the whole thing. And so it was very obviously special for me in my new walk with God. And obviously I was younger. So anyhow, I just the Jordan spot for me was just a little touristy for me, for my liking. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Jordan. First of all, we know that a bunch of things about the Jordan. First, it's the largest river in all of Israel. We already covered this. The Jordan flows up here in the north. Okay, so the Jordan flows into the Sea of Galilee, fresh water. Okay, don't be like, for some of you, don't be confused. The Sea of Galilee is nothing more than a large lake. Back in the Hebrew, there wasn't a word for lake back then, so that's why it was called the Sea of Galilee. So it's fresh water. Okay, so Jordan flows in the north, Jordan flows out in the south. Okay, north, south, Jordan flows out. Anybody know where the Jordan River runs to? Any geography buffs here? You know your geography. No. Good guess, but no. Dead Sea, exactly. So the Jordan River that flows from the north through the Sea of Galilee, that flows out in the south, and then eventually flows to the Dead Sea, and that's where it stops. So it goes to the Dead Sea. You know that the Jordan River is mentioned 180 times in the Old Testament. 180 times in the Old Testament. The Jordan River was only mentioned 15 in the New Testament. But the Jordan River has a very, very, very important spot. Is a very important spot for the life of Jesus, right? Start of his ministry. Hey, I'm going to get baptized, right? So anyhow, Jordan River. Okay, so let's look at the Jordan River. I went back to that map just to help you guys out. Let's go back to the Jordan. Oh, I didn't realize I had a map there. Okay, so if you go, okay, first just know this: they don't know where Jesus was baptized. Okay, obviously they know it's in the Jordan River. And geographically speaking, they know a pretty good guess that it's going to be on the south side of the Sea of Galilee, based on stuff that's happening and so forth. It's going to be on the southern side. Okay, so when you go there to see it, okay, this is the spot that they've set up. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You walk in, you go to walk in. Welcome to Yardnet, if I said it right, the baptismal site on the Jordan River. So they've got kind of a baptismal site there, and so forth. So you walk up to it. Okay, so we already covered this, but Sea of Galilee, there's the north, there's the south, there's the Dead Sea, and that's kind of where it stops. The Jordan River is 135 miles as far as the length of the Jordan River. Okay, and again, they just based on stuff, they believe that Jesus was actually was baptized on the southern side of the Jordan River. There's people that actually believe that a better spot for the baptism is going to be closer to the Dead Sea, but that would be quite the hike. Okay, so I will say, like, the one thing that I really enjoyed was walking around and seeing all these panels. Excuse me. They have panels that are everywhere, and it's just talking about obviously the new life and why you get baptized. And it's got obviously scripture verses here, the wall of new life. I think that's Romans 6:4. These panels are dedicated to Christians throughout the world who at this place have followed their Savior through the waters of baptism. So when you go there, they ask you, hey, do you want to be baptized? Okay. So I was actually asked before I even went to Israel by a friend who's a pastor. He's like, hey, have you made the decision? And I was like, decision about what? And he's like, have you made the decision about getting baptized? I was like, I don't know. I hadn't even thought about it. So if you go there, you can get baptized. You have to pay a few dollars. They give you a white robe because you're asked to wear a white robe, and you can get baptized in the Jordan. Did I get baptized? I did not get baptized. I prayed about it. I thought about it somewhat that day. And I go back to, like, I remember my baptism very clearly. And even though that was obviously years ago in elementary school, I've really not ever went too far away from God. So I've been pretty close to God most of my life. So I just didn't really feel the need. And I didn't really want it to be a tourist thing, like, oh, that's a bucket list thing. I got baptized in the Jordan. And so that's the reason that I chose not to. Okay. So you got a bunch of signs and so forth. This is a sign that's standing right there that you can get your picture in before you walk down to be baptized. They have, again, all these panels everywhere. And all the languages are just there. You name the language, there's a panel for it. So English, in those days, Jesus came from Nazareth, the Galilee, and was baptized by John in the Jordan. And when he came up out of the water, immediately he saw the heavens opened and the Spirit descending upon him like a dove. And the voice came from heaven, "Thou art my beloved Son, with thee I am well pleased." Excuse me. Some of our closest friends were Romanians, so I saw this picture there and took a picture of it and sent it to him. Here's one that was Hawaii. I love this part. Look at here. "You, my boy, I really get love and aloha for you, and I stay good inside 'cause of you." I was like, huh, is that really how they talk in Hawaii? Spanish. I don't think I'm going to be able to play this for you guys from this. But one of my friends that went on the trip, he's a pastor in Texas. He chose to get baptized. He's had some rough moments in his life at one point, and so he's, it was years ago, but he decided he wanted to get baptized. And so I had a video of him getting baptized, and I don't think it's going to play because I'm not there at the computer, but who knows? I really wanted to show it to you guys. So if you were able to see the video, you would notice something that's very, very apparent. Okay, so when I was talking with my students about the Jordan River, I asked them. I said, what do you think when before you even see the Jordan River, what do you picture in your mind? Anybody have anything you picture in your mind when you just think of the Jordan River? Jesus being baptized there, river that flows down to the Dead Sea. Yeah, big and wide. It's not. I mean, it's literally, it might be as wide as, wall to stage. It's not. And that's some of the great things of being able to look at pictures like this, because in our minds, I've read the Bible for years and years, and you start picturing things and you start seeing things and putting pieces together in your mind, and then you see it in real life, and you're like, wow, that's just I pictured it a little differently, right? So, literally, most of us might be able to get a baseball across. As far as to throw a baseball across, it's not very wide at that spot. So let me tell you a little bit about what they have there, and then we'll end up here in just a second. So what they've done is the Jordan curves right there. Okay, so the Jordan comes out of the Sea of Galilee, it comes down and it curves right there, and right there on the curve they put this baptismal site. And what they've done is they've taken and they've put basically taken concrete and stuff and put steps down into the water, and they've made basically, and they have railing and stuff. They've got 3 places where you can get baptized. It's nothing is like, there's not one that's more special than the other. It's just so that when groups are there, they can have 3 groups being baptized all at the same time. And so then around these little areas where you can get baptized, there's like some steps and so forth where you can just sit and watch, friends or family get baptized. So like I said, you go get your white robe. They have changing rooms there. You put your white robe on. And they encourage you, don't, make sure you put something under the white robe because they're pretty thin. They're really thin. And so then you go down there and you get in. The water is a weird green color. It's like almost like an antifreeze type color. Or when I was there, it's kind of a weird green, and it was really cold. So everybody that got in was like, whoa, this is freezing. And so you just get in, and then obviously the guy that I was with, the guy that was the guy that was in charge of our group, the leader of it, he was the one that decided to baptize everybody. And so he went in and obviously baptized and did the whole thing, and just like we see on Sundays here, right? So any questions about the Jordan? I'm sorry that the video, I can't play it from the remote. I was hoping that we could see it, but any questions? Okay, so let me preview next week, and then we'll pray and be finished for tonight. So next week, we are going to, like I said, we're going to spend our whole night next Wednesday in Jerusalem. So we will try to hit some of the big spots. We'll try to hit as many as we possibly can, but I want to try to put them in some type of order for you. So we'll walk through maybe, the Mount of Olives, and then maybe the triumphal entry as far as the road down in the Kidron Valley, and then maybe we'll go to maybe we'll stop at one of the pools, and show you some of that, and then we'll probably go upper room, Garden of Gethsemane, and then Caiaphas' house, and then maybe Garden Tomb, as far as Golgotha and Garden Tomb. So we'll cover a bunch of those next week. I'll go faster. I'll try not to get slowed down on different things. We'll try to show you some of those things. Again, you have to understand that there's some of them, there's no way possible that they can say Jesus was exactly here. You think about the Jordan River. What are they going to find? His robe that he was baptized in? No, they're not going to be able to find that. So some of the places, they just have to make a very good estimation as to where things were. Okay? So, but that's where we have the Holy Spirit. And what does the Bible tell us? The Holy Spirit guides us into truth. So I look at these things. That's what I did. When I was there, I would say literally my prayer was, Holy Spirit, guide me into truth and guide me into the life of Jesus and where he stepped and where he walked and what he did and stuff. And so that I can read my Bible different. That's kind of what was my prayer. So